What are the benefits of eating high-volume, low-calorie meals?
High volume, low calorie meals have a few benefits, depending on the food source, asterisk, asterisk. Really, high volume, low calorie meals tend to have more fruits and vegetables have all sorts of goodies in them, like phytochemicals and phytonutrients and fiber and lots of things, okay? The main benefit really comes down to actually probably three things. One, they contain more fruits and vegetables have more micronutrients in them, varying types of micronutrients. So if you have any risk of deficiency and then you all of a sudden jack up your fruit and vegetable intake, okay, decent insurance. Second, the volume indicates the amount of space it takes up. So in principle, if you have more food that takes up more space, it will stretch out your stomach more, which triggers your baroreceptors, if I remember correctly, the receptors in your GI tract that end up saying, oh look, I got stuff in here. And that works as one of the few mechanisms that communicates fullness. You have chemoreceptors and baroreceptors and eyeball receptors and all sorts of interesting things that help you determine, I've eaten enough food. Well, the amount of space the food takes up does check one of those boxes. So in principle, you can eat more stuff, even if the stuff has fewer calories, and still stay full and stay fuller for longer. Again, in principle, you can train yourself out of it. As an aside, a lot of competitive eaters actually train themselves to eat that way. If you look at a lot of the guys that do the hot dog eating contests, etc., and they do very well and also manage to stay on the thinner side relative to the amount they consume, they do it in this way. They might eat bazillions of pounds of lettuce. It has very few calories and takes up a ton of space, and they can actually train themselves to stretch out their stomach more. So again, it does have its limits. So basically, just to shorten it, if the food you eat takes up more space, in principle, you get fuller faster and stay fuller for longer, which can help with eating fewer calories overall.
Are there any type of disadvantages to eating this way?
Yes, very frank problems exist, mostly in the form of GI distress because of the type of foods that you would eat to have a higher volume, lower calorie diet. Again, the fruits and vegetables, a lot of people more and more will have stomach problems with it, and that can discourage a lot of people from continuing. Flatulence, a lot of people get the farts, mostly because you raise your fruit and vegetable intake. Although I would say, honestly, unless you have trouble getting all the calories in, which okay, fine. I would say the main disadvantage comes down to GI distress, stomach discomfort, stomach pain, etc. Some people have stomach problems like, IBS or other stomach sort of things, FODMAP sensitivities, that when you have a high volume, low calorie diet or a high fruit and vegetable diet, it'll aggravate those conditions. And if you have them and then jack up your fruit and vegetable intake, you would know. So it ends up correcting itself pretty fast. I would consider overall, that probably turns into the most common sort of complaint with that sort of diet.
So you definitely think that the benefits outweigh the disadvantages?
Interesting question. I will say yes, although you can get a little more technical with it. For instance, if I know that when I want to gain weight and I eat, say, 3,600 calories per day, I eat 3,600 calories per day, and to get the food in, I eat fewer fruits and vegetables overall, so I can have enough room to eat enough calories. Now, I might know that, okay, over 4 meals and 3,600 calories, I eat about 6 pounds of food, okay? Now, we have something useful insofar as when I start changing my diet to lose body fat, now I can say, all right, I eat 3,600 calories eating 6 pounds of food. Can I eat 3,000 calories eating 6 pounds of food? And now, with just a little bit more fastidious measurements, I can maintain the total mass of food I eat on a daily basis, which really helps maintain my fullness and or satiety, whatever word you want to use, for the long term before, or I guess the medium term, before I swap foods out again. That, if you pay attention to that, then you can eat the same amount of food on a daily basis, whether you want to gain weight or lose it. That really helps a lot overall with the stick-to-itiveness of the weight cycle.
I've heard a lot about food volume before, but this is the first time I've actually heard food volume equated from weight I've eaten one day to weight of another. How did you come up with that?
Well, I will tell you that, strictly speaking, I went from volume to mass. And so I would lie to you if I said I did the calculus to determine determine, or the analytical geometry to determine the total volume of food I ate every day. I use volume as more of a label for like fruits and vegetables. Like you can have volume discrepancies with other foods too, but it really just means add foods filled with water, essentially, which you can consider another benefit to a high volume diet if you want. You get more water, which water from food does count, by the way. So, okay, fine. I think that just came as an just a frankly arbitrary decision, probably coming from my background in science, rather than anything that I like looked up in the literature and did all, like, to me it just seemed like, well, I eat 6 pounds of food with this many calories. I do know that part of the system to determine fullness comes down to stretching receptors somewhere. And so if I can eat the same amount of stuff as I do while fat when I do skinny, even if that stuff has different amount of calories, it will raise the probability that I can stay on track to get skinnier for longer.
If you found this helpful, you probably want to know how fast you can get jacked. So watch this video next.